Welcome back to Fitness Manifesto. I am one of your hosts, Kim, and joining me is
Justin. Welcome to this new show that we've started, which focuses on life, awesomeness, friendship, and fitness as a whole.
So, Matt, I got to know what happened after surgery. What came next?
Yeah. Okay. All right. So buckle in for a little bit. Now, I'll give like a 5-minute version here, and then we can dive deep into whatever you guys want to dive into. So basically what happened after surgery. So I finished my chemotherapy. I finished my 5 rounds.
Just real quick.
Yeah.
From time of I promise, no more interruptions. I'm just curious here because from time of diagnosis to this stage, how many months, weeks, how far are we in so far?
So I get diagnosed August 13th of 2016. I finished my chemotherapy late November. So 3 months, I think that is August, September, October, maybe even 4 months. I don't even remember at this point. Finished late November. That might even be 4 months. So what they do before they even talk about surgery and everything, they want the chemo to get out of your body so they can get true results. So the reason they want the chemo is so they can just see, okay, where are we at now in all of this? So I go through my 5 rounds. They give me a month off. So it's now like 2 weeks before Christmas, basically. I sit down with my oncologist and he goes, Matt, okay, we have some good news and we have some bad news. Or I wouldn't even call it bad news, but we have some challenging news. So the good news, your tumor shrunk from 11 centimeters to 3 centimeters. I'm like, awesome. He's like, your AFP markers, 100,000 down to under, I think it was like under 100 at this point. I wasn't completely normal, but he's like, it worked tremendously. It worked. Everything's looking good. But he said the tough news is your tumor is wrapped around what's called your inferior vena cava. Now, your inferior vena cava, for people who don't know, this is just the basic. I'm not in the medical field, so I can't give you the best description. But from what I understood was it's a central vein that basically goes from the bottom of your upper body to your heart. And it's one of your big veins. But what they told me was it was wrapped around there. And they were going to have about a 12-hour surgery with my RPL&D surgery. So the RPL&D is basically removing the tumor and everything. They're also going to have to remove that vena cava as well. And they're going to have to get in 3 to 4 different surgeons. So they're going to have a cardiologist, a urologist. They're going to have like an intestinal specialist and somebody else, like just a general surgeon. So it was an extremely intense surgery. So like, we don't know the complication. We just don't know what's going to happen. So 2 weeks goes by. This is how long I have to wait till I get my surgery. Longest 2 weeks of my life. But, get to the surgery, ends up being about a 10 to 12 hour surgery. Now, going into the surgery, I had lost about 40 pounds. So it's 180 pounds before diagnosis. I'm about 140 pounds now. They cut me open from my left hip to my right hip. And what had happened was I wake up, this was about a day and a half later, and I go to move, and I'm just like, whoa, what's going on? It's hard for me to move. It's hard for me to pretty much do anything. And I look down, and my whole body's swollen. And I had gained about 60 pounds from that surgery. I was close to 200 pounds coming out of that surgery. My whole body just started to swell up, and especially my stomach. My stomach was like a balloon. And the doctor comes in, or the surgeon, and I'm asking him this question, like, what's going on? And he said, well, basically you just said your body went into survival mode and it started swelling up a lot of different parts of your body. And he had a way better description than me. But what happened was they put a draining tube in my stomach and they said the fluid should eventually drain. Give it about a month and everything, you should be back to a normal. And a week goes by in the hospital. I'm finally gaining my strength back. They release me. Another week goes by. And then all of a sudden, one day, my draining just stops. Not in a good way. It just stops like that. All of a sudden, they had me on Percocet. They had me on Oxycontin. I mean, they had me on, you name it. I mean, I was just like trying to relieve this pain and it wasn't doing anything. I'm in so much pain. I get rushed back to the emergency room. They put me in an ambulance, once again, drive me directly to the Cleveland Clinic, end up having to, in a matter of, this took a few surgeries, but ultimately had to drain 7 liters of fluid out of my stomach, causing me to go into complete kidney and liver failure. I had a cone drilled inside my head because they were monitoring potential brain swelling. I had a catheter in my chest because they thought I was going to be on dialysis the rest of my life, and I ended up falling into a 2-week non-induced coma. Now, long story short, and like I said, we can dive more into this. I ended up being in the ICU for over 40 days. I was in the Cleveland Clinic for over 55 days. A week out of my coma, I end up going into cardiac arrest. So I had a catheter in my neck too. They go to take out that catheter. It's like a 0.1% chance. I have what's called an air rhythm heartbeat. I go into cardiac arrest. They have to do 8 minutes of CPR on me to bring me back to life, go back into another 1-week coma. I had 5 major surgeries in a matter of the 53 plus days I was in there. The last surgery they did was called an open wound surgery because my stitches bursted open out of nowhere. And they had to literally open up my stomach and put a massive mesh there, which took a full year for me to heal. So if anyone's ever seen my pictures on Instagram or things like that, you'll see a huge scar there. And that's what it was from. And I ended up dropping down from that 200 pounds to 110 pounds, having to learn to walk and completely relive my entire life again in just a matter of 2 months. And it was like a whole whirlwind of so many different things in my life. But ultimately, through my faith, through my support, through my incredible medical staff, and through my health and fitness background, I was able to persevere. And really, it took me 2 to 2.5 years of PT recovery, diving into just healing myself, more probably mentally than it even was physically, which sounds crazy, but it really was. And that's why I'm here today, to help other individuals who are going through their own health journey. I don't care. You don't have to go through a medical journey. If you're on your own health journey and you just feel stuck, you feel lost, I want to let you know that it is possible to get out of it, to become a better version of yourself. Today, I work out now. I'm back to 185 pounds. I work out 6 days a week. I just walked 3 miles before I got on this podcast. And I literally couldn't walk for more than a 10 meters at a time, learning to walk again just 6 years ago. Yeah, that's my short version. And like I said, I'm happy to talk more about whatever you guys want to.
I got to know. So in the beginning of all this, you had just gotten in this relationship with your girlfriend at the time. It was a lot for her, right? So leading up to all the surgeries and stuff, she stuck with you.
She was, oh my gosh. All right. I don't want to butter her up, but whatever. I'm buttering her up. So she was literally like an angel for me. So you want to hear a cool story is we met on March 17th of 2016. We didn't start dating till it was like end of May. So end of May, got diagnosed in August. We were dating for 2.5, 3 months. When I was diagnosed, I was like, I don't even know if she wants to stay with me. And we were actually on the verge of potentially breaking up because of all this, but she, out of God knows why, but she decided, she's like, I'm sticking with you this entire journey. She would come to my chemo session. She would stay at my parents' house late at night. She would sleep over, take care of me then. And I'm telling you, every single day, not one day, every single day, she stayed in that hospital for me. So she would stay at the local hotel that was in the hospital. She'd wake up at 5:30 in the morning. You weren't even allowed to see visitors in the ICU till 8 a.m., but she'd have to go to work. So she'd come and see me at somehow, don't know how she'd do it. She'd come and see me at 6:30 in the morning. She would drive to work, come back, and she would just sit there and she would either read a book or she would do like her painting. So not really paintings, it was more just like coloring and stuff like that. But the really cool thing is I had this big ICU room with these huge windows. And I remember when I woke up from my coma that I seen all these, colorings. And I'm like, what the heck? There had to have been 30 of them. The window was so big, it wasn't covering the whole window, but she would put them on the windows just to display them. I'm like, who did all these? And I remember my mom saying it was Lauren, and she never left. Like, I'm telling you, she just didn't leave. And here's the crazy part. I finally get released from that ICU. And the day I get released was March 17th of 2017. The day, literally one year to the day from when we met. And for us, even though like our wedding date, September 24th, and, has a big meaning to it, March 17th is always something huge in our hearts. So that's the power of the story of me and Lauren.
So I think that, first of all, it's pretty fascinating. So let's talk about just some, to get you to where you are today, right? So we've learned about where you started, what you did. Now let's talk about where you're going, right? In terms of the background and in terms of, okay, your recovery starts, all this stuff happens. When did you actually start your true recovery? Like, when did PT start? When did that stuff happen? And when, I know you talked about 2 years or whatever, but what was kind of that turning point for you? Because there's always, like, whenever you go through some sort of struggle like this, there is that moment of doubt, right? No matter how strong you are, no matter your faith, no matter whatever, there's always a struggle. We've all been there. So what did you have to do? Like, what was that turning point for you that you were like, I can do this? I see there's a light now because it's not all dark, And when was the point that you were like, I've got this?
So you hit the nail on the head. I want to let people know I didn't always have this positive, go lucky, seeing the side of the rainbow mindset. It was a lot of dark days. And I'm telling you, it was my faith and support that brought me through that. And that's why I try to tell people, you cannot fight your battles alone. I know it's a lonely journey, especially when you start off. And that's where really my faith came into play, was I had to lean towards it, because as much as I had Lauren and my parents and stuff like that, they couldn't relate to me in the aspect of they weren't going through cancer. They didn't know exactly what I was going through, and I didn't know their end either. So it was really challenging. But yes, I have some key turning points in a couple of ways. So my first key turning point was on the road to recovery. And then I'll share my second key turning point on the road to inspiring and helping other people. So the first one was, first of all, PT, that starts directly when you're in the hospital. It started from me learning to walk again. I'll tell you right now, my PT was when I got out of that second coma, if you want to call about. So everyone knows probably about Damar Hamlin, the guy from Buffalo, the Bills player who went into cardiac arrest and everything. Well, what he ended up happening to him was they seduced him for, I think, close to a week because they needed to make sure that his heart was functioning properly and his vitals and everything were coming back to normal. That's exactly how they had to do with me when I went to cardiac arrest. So when I woke back up, I almost felt like I was paralyzed. And to learn to walk again took 4 nurses, no joke, 4 nurses every day to help me get up. And it took 2 weeks for me laying in my bed to taking my very first steps again. So that was my first sign of physical therapy. But now we'll go a little bit forward, and I'm out of the hospital and I'm 110 pounds and I don't have the accountability of nurses. I don't have the accountability of doctors every single day helping me. So now talk about a mental drainage. I went directly from a why me mindset, becoming the victim of the situation and letting it control me. And what happened was I basically started to make excuses of not wanting to get up and do the physical therapy I need to do today and just saying, I'm going to lay in bed, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. Within 2 weeks, I was back in the hospital with a standing heart rate of 150 beats a minute. My blood pressure was through the roof. My temperature was over 104 degrees. I had to stay there for an entire week because I was literally destroying my body because I wasn't taking care of myself. I was letting it destroy me mentally, physically, and emotionally. So here's where you asked about that turning point. I get out of the hospital and I remember sitting down with Lauren and we basically had the deepest discussion of our life. I can't go crazy into detail because it's just hard to remember all of it, but the whole premise of it was, Matt, if you don't get your
absolutely
together, you are probably not going to be here next month. It came down to a life or death for me. And I'm not saying it's going to be life or death for everybody, but for me, it was literally life or death. That point in time, I said, I am no longer going to let my setback control my life. I'm going to take control of my circumstance. And yes, it's going to be hard. Yes, I'm still going to have down days, but I'm going to focus on what's called winning the day. And what the whole premise of winning the day is if you can win 4 or 5 out of those days in the week, that means that you've won the week. If you can win 3 out of the 4 weeks in a month, that means you won the month. If you can win 7, 8 months out of the year, guess what? You've actually won the year. And I'm not saying every day is going to be perfect, but that was my concept going in. It was one little task a day to improve myself. A lot of people on these health journeys, they have these big goals, which is great. You should have big goals, but you have to set smaller incremental goals along the way to get there. You're not just going to reach that destination overnight. It's going to take time. It's going to take patience. It's going to take a lot of courage and a lot of strength to get yourself moving. So here's what I did. I'll just share really quickly. Here's how I really learned to walk again when I was out of the hospital. I'd have a lawn chair on one end of my driveway and I have a lawn chair on the other end. And it was maybe 20 meters away. I'd get my butt up, walk over to that lawn chair. I'd have a cane in the beginning, sit back down, contemplate life for a little bit, get my butt back up and walk back. Guess what I did the next day? I moved that lawn chair a little bit further, a little bit further. Next thing you know, it wasn't in the driveway anymore. It was in the sidewalk. I started moving further and further. And one day I was walking with my dad and I said, Dad, don't even bring the damn lawn chair. Just don't bring it. I need it for me. I need it for me. And I did that. And that was a switch in my life. That was when I knew when I got all the way there and all the way back that the hardest moments of my life that I could conquer, whenever there's a setback now moving forward, I look back at those times and say, if I could overcome that, whatever is in front of me, I can conquer. And that's why I tell people, do the hard tasks, because when you complete them, all the other stuff that would get in your way when you start to face those things aren't going to be so challenging because you can look back and be like, wow, I've already gone through the hard times. So I was able to recover through that. After that, I started eating more. I started lifting 5-pound weights, doing these things and started gaining my strength back. So that took about a year to really gain my weight back, really gain my strength back, heal my stomach. And then it took about another year to really heal me mentally as well. Now, the mental struggles I was facing was, number one, was worrying about what other people might think of me. They used to see me as this fit personal trainer who always took care of himself. And I had these body image issues. I was like a skeleton for a while. And I just had these body images that I used to wanted to be, but I wasn't at the time. And so I faced those. I was facing insecurities in my life. I was also facing, what do I go next? Where do I go with all this? Because like I was telling you before, you feel like you have a bigger purpose in life. And all of a sudden, what ultimately allowed me to figure out where I wanted to go next was I just started looking looking up motivational videos. That's it. I just started. I was on YouTube and I would look up motivational people. It started off with just like I said, motivational video. Started watching it. And then all of a sudden, one day I came across this podcast and it was this guy named Ed Milet. If you don't know who Ed Milet is, he's an entrepreneur, but he's also very personal development space. He's incredible. He's super positive. And his podcast was called Broke to 400 Million. And I'm like, whoa, that catches my attention. I want to know how he made all this money. I go into the podcast and it has nothing to do about money. It's all about the
Absolutely.
that he went through to become the best version. His water got turned off. He was completely broke. He had nowhere to live. All these things to where he is today. And I said, wow, I can use my story to help others who are struggling as well. And that's what he was doing. He was using his story, his message to help others. So what I did was I said, okay, I need to get into his community. And I said, I don't know how, but I'm going to figure it out. Well, crazy thing is 2 months later, he started this business group and it was a mastermind. I said, I don't care the cost. Well, I do care the cost, but I'm going to, if I can afford it, I'm going to freaking do it. And I could afford it. I had backlash though. I had massive backlash from my parents saying, you're going to get scammed, all this. And trust me, I did my research. I'm like, I don't care what you say. I'm freaking doing it. Greatest decision of my life. I met some incredible people. And what they did was they gave me the courage to share my story, to give me ideas of where to go next. And that's what I tell. It's the power of surrounding yourself with the right people is where you're going to have the accountability or the ideas to do something bigger in your life. So for example, if you're on a health journey, find people that are going to help hold you accountable to help reach your goals. It's going to be hard to do it on your own. You're going to have those down days, but those people that can uplift you and say, hey, you got this. I know you can do it. It will be more beneficial than you even think. That was kind of my journey. I know it's kind of a long talk, but I just wanted to share that part. It's been a massive part of my life. I've now also built a Facebook group where we have over 6,000 cancer patients, survivors, and caregivers in the group, all inspired to help them mentally, emotionally, physically through their journey. I've been able to speak at different conferences. I was in Las Vegas not too long ago, speaking at a testicular conference. I got to go to Miami where I got to speak at a business conference. I've done countless of podcasts, and you just never know where life's going to take you if you put one foot in front of the other, surround yourself with the right people, and just say, hey, I don't know where I'm going, but I'm going to just try every single day to be a better version of myself.
It's a great
I agree
attitude.
with that. And I love everything that you just said.
And I think that it's funny because I think for those that struggle with religion and for those that aren't faith-based, I think one of the things, I have a lot of clients like that, to help with that mentality is surrender and have faith. It's not about faith in God or anything like that. Have faith that, I mean, if you think about the universe and the cosmos, the way I describe it is everything's connected, right? Like part of our disillusionment is that we're here, bugs are here, the earth is here, everything's connected. Like everything is fully connected. And the faith is that the odds of you being born are 1 in 4 trillion or something like that. Just to be here is a miracle. So there's something special just to be said for that. So start appreciating those small things, finding those opportunities, and not only just putting yourself out there, but saying yes to more things too, right? It's not just because some of those things are scary. Like you weren't a public speaker before this. You didn't do that, right? And probably the first time you did it, it was probably pretty scary, right?
Yeah. I used to be that kid in high school where 2 weeks before I knew I had to speak, it'd control my entire week because I was so afraid. Yeah, 100%. Absolutely. Facing your fears and just going for it. I mean, on the other end, there's so many benefits to it. So you just got to go for it.
Just shows how to be positive, how powerful it is. I mean, if you say, I can do this and I'm going to do this, you're going to do it.
But I think it's a combination of the two because positivity only takes you so far and faith only takes you so far. But when you combine those two, it's almost unstoppable, right? Because then you find a way. What stops most people is they get hung up on the idea of the how, and screw the how, just do it. Because if your will and your strength is there.
Yeah, I'll take it one step further. The reason why they continuously are like the how is they're so ingrained in worrying what their closest friends or their family is going to think about them. I am telling you that is the number one thing why people don't go for it in life is because they are so ingrained in worrying what others are going, especially the people they care about. They want either respect from them or they want some type of validation. And you're not going to get either of those two until you just go off on your own. Lauren, I don't know why, but she's always been incredible support. My parents, they're incredible support too, but they questioned a lot of things in the beginning from me, especially when I was starting to venture off. They were the greatest support of all time during cancer. But the second I wanted to do something bigger with my life, why are you doing this? Why are you spending money on this? You're going to get scammed with this. You're going to do this. But what if this happens? You were never a speaker before that. What, you think you're a speaker now? And it wasn't just my parents. A lot of people had friends talking behind my back and stuff because they're like, oh, is he too good to hang out with us now because he's hanging out with his friends that are actually trying to do something with their life? And that's not all of them. I'm not belittling anybody. All I'm trying to say is you're going to get that. But guess what? The regret of you never trying is totally totally going to outweigh any type of small little criticism you might get, or even big criticism, whatever. It just shows that it's more their insecurities, not yours at the end of the day.
Well, Matt, I got to say, I think this was a pretty awesome podcast. And obviously, we definitely have you back. There's a lot more going on. But I want to say thank you, one, for opening up and being so, open. It seems you make it easy to talk about these things. And the nice part about that is it opens up the door, like you said, for other people to talk about this, because you're not alone and you've created a help group and everything else. And so as we get ready to wrap up here, tell people, you had mentioned you have a Facebook group, you've got a website. Tell people a few avenues that they can help reach out and find you on these things.
Absolutely. So I have 2 Facebook groups. If you've been diagnosed or even just impacted in cancer anyway, my cancer Facebook group is Taking Back Your Life from Cancer, Cancer Survivor/Patient. So it's called Cancer Survivor/Patient, Taking Back Your Life from Cancer. Or you can just directly message me on Facebook. So my name is just Matt Odie. You can send me a direct message from there. And my second Facebook group is not just for cancer patients, survivors, or caregivers. This is for more health related. It's called Survivor HQ. And the whole premise of this is to help people who've gone through traumatic experiences or something challenging in their life, to help them through their health and fitness journey. And that is my whole premise of that Facebook group. There's no strings attached or anything like that. It's just a group filled to support me, giving advice and helping you, and building a community where people can really help and inspire others. So you can follow me on Facebook at Matt Odie. You can follow me on Instagram at Matt, MATTY_Odie. And if you are looking for me on TikTok, once again, to Matt Odie as well. Oh, and one last thing. Me and Lauren, we have to get back into it, but a really cool thing we did was we created a YouTube channel, and it's just my YouTube channel, Matt Odie, but we started a channel called Dating After Diagnosis, and it kind of shares mine and Lauren's story of what we went through. So if you're looking for more of a caregiver side, Lauren goes really in depth of what she went through and her side of her journey, and it's really inspiring. We haven't done it in a while, but there's still about 6 or 7 episodes, and I think you find a lot of value if you're going on your own journey of whatever in life as a couple. So those are the ways you can reach out or just get a hold of me.
And we'll put all that information in the notes in the show too. So you don't have to worry. If you're sitting there trying to scribble this down, you're in the car or whatever, don't worry. We got you covered. Yeah. It'll be in the notes.
Yeah. And I'll just give you my website, which has everything on it. My website has all my links to everything. So
awesome. Yes, it does. I got on and looked at it.
I just want to say, Kim, Justin, thank you guys. Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure. And I am just had a great time. This has been an absolutely amazing hour to just spend and really dive deep. And I will say this has been one of the best podcasts I've been on. So thank you guys so much. And, hopefully we can stay in touch and really, maybe even help others, especially each other's communities moving forward.
Let's take this a step further, Matt. We will stay in touch and we will make that happen. And thank you very much. We had a blast as well.
And that concludes today's episode of the Fitness
Manifesto. I know you guys enjoyed it.
And Kim, I want to say thank you to you and to our audience for making this podcast what it is.
Yes, we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you guys.
And stay tuned for the next episode.